Let's hand it off to Jake.
Hey, yo, Darcy, it makes sense now why why he signed up so fast for this show today. The Denver Nuggets are gone. So it makes total sense now. Jake, what is good, my brother? How are you doing, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, man. But you know what's funny about that, Ben, is at least, you should be happy of the fact that you literally have 3 teams in this state I live in, okay, that actually have hope compared to the team I watched last night, and that's the Rockies. At least all those have hope. There's no hope for this team at all. Come on. No, I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling electrified, no pun intended. But it's because, man, I cannot wait for this season to start up. Free agency, draft, man, schedule.
Are we going to Brazil, Jake? Are we going to Brazil?
Oh,
damn right. We're going
guys,
to
let's go to Brazil. Super chat us to Brazil, guys. Super chat us to Brazil.
You know what? We have to do the schedule preview the next show. Let's line that up. Let's get that set up. We have to definitely break that down real quick. And you guys may not believe or feel how I feel about this. I'm going to start here. I feel like it's only right Jake gets to start here because I got to keep it. I got to keep it a buck. I think the Chargers had one of the top 3, top 5 drafts in the NFL this year. It hurts my soul because you guys got 2 guys that I wanted on the Raiders, Trey Harris, Amarion Hampton, which I ended up with, the best running back in the draft anyway.
Bro,
but I'm just saying Amarion Hampton, I was high on him the whole draft, the draft process. Trey Harris was one of my favorite wide receivers, if not favorite wide receiver. Let's start here, man, because I think, honestly, you guys had one of the better draft class. How are you feeling about your draft class?
I felt very stoked about our draft class. If I gave this any rating, and I've talked about this with, Charger Syndicate and everybody there, I gave this a B+. And the only reason is because it has the potentials to become an A draft. And the reason of that, because they not only got, the 2 impactful players, but they got a lot of depth players that we know can be very impactful in every single position. The thing is, too, the underrated pick that I really liked was the fact that we got the kid Kyle Kennard from South Carolina.
That was a great pick.
That is a great pick because now we have the future edge rusher. And I'm going to save this a little bit to savor this a little bit. I don't think Ben is really going to like this. Graf, you've already felt this before, but I'll save it for last. But the fact that we have a young kid that after moving off Joey Bosa and having the perfect mentor in Khalil Mack, Kyle Kennard is really going to learn a lot from having to put together with this rotation with Thule and with Bud Dupree. I think the kid's got a very good shot. The other 2 that I really liked was Keandre Lambert-Smith from Auburn.
Okay.
Because this kid, by the way, I'm surprised Penn State let go of this kid because that would have been their shining star at receiver that they needed that could potentially win a natty. And he goes and transfers to Auburn. This kid has very good deep route skills, and he's also got the hands to prove it. So to me, it feels a lot like the options that we had for when we had Jalen Guyton in the past and we had those guys. This is the speedster that could really open up the pass game that Justin Herbert loves to throw. And the final one, R.J. Mickens from Clemson.
Yeah, sneaky pickup late.
Is a dog. He can hit, he can cover, and he can literally do anything that you want as either a defensive specialist in the rotation or even just a special teams guy.
Yeah, I think you got 2 steals in this class. And Kyle Kennard, we can talk about Trey Harris, Marion Hampton, but a guy in Jamari Caldwell, that was one of the better defensive tackles in this class. Arande Gatson II, a guy that his father played in the league. I got a chance to talk to him at the Shrine Bowl, former Syracuse wide receiver, converted tight end. That is a major pickup for your offense.
You know what people liked that I said when I threw out a video about Arande Gadsden? I said he is literally a poor man's Colston Loveland with high upside. That kid, at the draft spot that he was in with that potential and watching him at Syracuse, I was like, holy crap.
A poor man's Darren Waller.
Where's Darren Waller now?
He's rapping.
He's rapping up in my hometown. And that's all he's doing.
But Amarion Hampton, Trey Harris, Jamari Caldwell, Kyle Kennard, you addressed that defensive line. Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver, got a few receivers. Arande Gatson II, which will be a tight end at the next level. Branson Taylor, another offensive linemen, and you can add some depth to that room. RJ Mickens, you talked about the safety. I think that was a nice steal. Bridges, they're late, another corner. I got to keep it a buck here, man. It hurts my soul to say this, man. I'm giving you guys an A. This is an A draft class. I think Harbaugh hit this out the ballpark. What do you guys feel, Darcy? How do you feel about this Chargers draft class?
I like it. Listen, going into this draft, like, you guys needed a running back, you needed a wide receiver. You got both of those in the first 2 rounds. Like, you addressed it very quickly. I didn't expect Hampton to go that soon, but at the same time, like, he was the second best back on the board. Like, if it was,
I did. I thought he was going
really?
First round for sure.
I saw some things where he was going to go like very late first, early second, but either way, you guys needed a running back, and I think the over time we'll see that the value in those first 2 rounds is better than the value in the 4th and the 5th. So Hampton was a good pick. Trey Harris, that's a guy that I think is going to fit in really nicely with the other receivers that you got. Yeah. And like, let's face it, Johnson's not going to be able to be like a guy that you go to consistently anymore.
No.
So
he was on the trade block, Dars, for a minute. They were thinking about
trading for a guy that can't catch the football.
Well, the reason
I can play for the Chargers if that's the criteria.
Well, hell, a lot of us that want to play as try out as a receiver, we could all probably make the roster. But here's the thing, though, is like that. Those 2 receivers, when they drafted them, that put Quinn Johnson on notice. Like, you will easily be off this roster if you cannot prove to us that you can be impactful. So what? You got 8 touchdown scores. So what that, like, you had that many catches for targets, but you still are a liability with those hands. Like, you got to prove to us otherwise. That's the reason, too, that Mike Williams came back.
Yeah. Back. Salute to the Mokes on a $5 holla. Appreciate you, brother. Salute to Louis. I gotta do it real quick, you guys. He says, salute Dar, salute Ben, salute Jake. But Graf, give me a Raiders. Salute to my guy Louis G on the $10 special. I mean, how do you grade this draft with the Chargers, Darcy? I mean, once again, they addressed pretty much every need. They already had a pretty good offseason in terms of free agency as well. I mean, man, this kind of put the cherry on the top for the Chargers. And I hate to say it as a Raider fan, but they had a really good draft.
I give him a B+. I feel it's so hard for me to be like, oh, you get an A, just because like we don't really. I mean, all these guys could suck, and they're going to Los Angeles, so they could really suck.
Yeah.
But on paper, I think it's a B+ draft, and if 1 or 2 of these guys hits, like I always think about it in terms of, do you hit on someone in the later rounds? Because if you hit on Kyle Kennard, who cares if Hampton sucks? Like if you get a guy that could be like a Max Crosby in the later rounds and you draft him when you do, who cares if the guy in the 1st and 2nd round doesn't work out? Like, you're not going to hit on everybody, but I think that's why it's so difficult to grade the draft because, like, I don't know, scheme fit. Maybe it's different. Maybe, this guy comes in with a different attitude. Maybe, he doesn't like the way this guy's coaching him. So it's kind of hard to be like, this is what the draft grade is going to be before the guys have even played, but I'll give it a B+.
The good thing is that they don't have to rush Hampton out there. They have Najee. He's going to be the guy immediately. They can, make sure that, Hampton's going to get a ton of burn his rookie season. That's your 1st round draft pick. But the good thing is they have Najee Harris there in the building. They have the young kid Vidal as well. So they have a nice little trio there at the running back.
If I may, this is also the other reason why we have undrafted free agents as well. And who's one that's going to be a household name you'll get used to hearing is Rocket Sanders. I am really surprised we got that kid because I was just like, dude, this is Jim Harbaugh. This is his backfield. This is exactly what complements perfectly for the Chargers team.
I interviewed him at the Shrine Bowl, talked to him extensively off camera. Man, this kid has dealt with some knee injuries. I believe he dealt with like a neck. He dealt with a few things at the collegiate level. He had a down season the year prior. He got back in production last season at South Carolina. Rocket is going to be a stud too. He's definitely going to make that roster. He's definitely going to make that roster.
I got no doubt.
Go ahead, Ben. I need to hear this.
This
is where the realism.
Are you like? What are you guys saying? That the Chargers had an abysmal offseason, and you can't just look at the draft. Like you got to look at the entire picture. They went into the offseason with $90 million in cap space, the 2nd most on the entire NFL. They lose Poona Ford, they lose Bosa, they lose Asante Samuel Jr., who had 3 picks his first ever playoff game as a rookie.
He's not signed yet.
Yeah, he just is visiting teams today and not your team. Your all of your eggs are in the Khalil Mack basket. Both of your starting cornerbacks going into this season are no longer on the team, and you lost all of your Christian going to friggin' KC. You guys just picked up Fulton, right?
Yep.
And the fact that you have top tier players that you just let walk who get picked up by Buffalo and Kansas City right away is the biggest indictment on how bad that offseason was. You wanted Evan Ingram and you didn't get him. He visited you, watched film of Herbert.
Talk that shit,
bro.
Nobody
it's my
wanted
turn
Evan
to cook.
Ingram.
It is everybody wanted Evan Ingram, and you're gonna see real
Y'all
quick.
traded hands with Evan Ingram.
Okay, here's the deal. It is the deepest running back class in NFL history, and you lost 4 defensive starters at first blush. You lost 4 defensive starters, and the deepest running back class. You take Hampton when all of your free agent money went to Najee Harris. It just doesn't make sense. Like a big chunk of it, and you went in with $90 million, and that's your big like bell of, hey guys, look what we did. We got Najee Harris, and then you get Omer and Hampton. That is duplicitous at best. And
hold on. They might say that word one more time.
Duplicitous. Those guys duplicate what each other's doing. You don't give top tier free agent money to a running back and then in the deepest running back class in NFL history, you're talking like all the way down to Tootin. He's going to go off for the Jaguars. You could have had him in the 5th round, and to do that with Omer and Hampton, congrats. You just got Javonte Williams. It's one thing for Graf to get Ashton Genty, but so I'm majorly against that pick of Omer and Hampton. You have so many needs. You do not draft that.
Throwing stones at Omarion Hampton when you drafted RJ Harvey is crazy work.
We're about to see how that
goes.
So let me tell you something. You think that we literally wasted a lot of that money. Do you realize that after 90 mil, we have $26 million left in cap space, that we could literally sign anybody that just becomes every team's reject that could literally be an impactful player on our rosters?
Congrats. You get everyone's reject.
Because guess what? You know what I heard through the grapevine, Ben, and you're not going to like this because here's the thing.
You're getting Von Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get Von Miller, and he's going to scare the absolute shit out of
Wait,
I love him.
Bosa for Von Miller?
Dude, who's older?
Because here's the thing. Why not? I've got 2 impactful mentors with Khalil Mack, who I know you hate seeing him play against the Raiders, and then having Von Miller play against the Broncos, and we've got 2 youngsters in Thule and Kyle Kennard that they're going to learn from to be scary assets in the future.
You know what? You know what's crazy? Ben just made a really great case, and you know what? I'm going to take that A to an F plus. I feel like Ben just he pled his case. He bars.
Dude, it honestly was like auto draft, but not for your needs. You have to draft based on your needs. And like Mekhi Becton, dude, you put a lot into that. And truly, if everything works, your offensive line is terrifying. He has 2 surgically reconstructed knees and weighs 400 pounds right now.
But what did we learn from the Philadelphia Eagles?
He stayed healthy for 1 season and got his bag, and now he's not going to play again.
Jets stand for JETS, just end the suffering. I believe in the Jets as well if I'm Mekhi Becton. That dude literally was a dog with Philadelphia. You don't think Harbaugh could get it?
Why are we glossing over the Von Miller hype? Like, what did you watch Von Miller play football last year?
It was bad.
Watch your mouth, Darcy. But I love Von, but I don't want him now. Yeah.
But Darcy, if you learn anything about what Jim Harbaugh's style of coaching is he will squeeze every ounce of football out of these players. And he does.
There's nothing left to be squeezed.
So, dude, I'm telling you, I'm not saying this like I like Graf the most of all of you guys. That's not even a close thing. But I'm telling you, the Chargers are going to finish last in our division. Clip this up. And they will, dude. They will. You had a horrible offseason, and you got mollywopped to the worst team in the playoffs in the Texans.
You literally got that Orange Crush Kool-Aid. I'm going to need you to put it down right now.
It's actually LaCroix, and it's delicious.
Hey, real quick. Give us a grade, even though you went absolutely bonkers right now. Give a grade for the Chargers draft class, Biff.
Like, I would give it a C.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because you could hit on a couple of those, but I think drafting a running back, unless it's Ashton Genty in the first round, Sean Payton was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, basically, when he saw that.
Real quick, we're going to get to the Broncos here. Salute to Ty. Out of the teams from LA, who won Super Bowls? Just 2. Not so much. Boom. Where the flags? You get a flag. You get a flag. Boom. Pretty. Come on. Talk that shit, Ty. Talk.
The Chargers did win the draft with the schedule or with the schedule release video. I'll give you that. So does that bump it up? Because it was hilarious.
The fact that I got to face him up there. I got to face you. I got to face you. I got to face you in the first 3 weeks. And the NFL really.
You're also traveling. You're traveling 40,000 miles on an airplane, which is twice.
We weren't the most.
None of you guys have to fly to Boston, fly back home, then fly to DC the following week to play the Commanders. That is a tough assignment.
Well, bro, you also have the least amount. You have the biggest discrepancy in rest days. Like you're negative 20. The beginning of the
season starts off tough, and then the end ends tough. But the meat and potatoes of the schedule is pretty favorable for us. Yeah. Real quick, Jake, I want you to get your get back right here, brother. We're gonna go to the Broncos. Right. To me, they had a really good draft. I think there was a few reaches though, Ben. I do, because I love Pat Bryant. I'm a major Pat Bryant guy, but I thought that you guys could have got him maybe a couple rounds later. The young kid out of Illinois, big body guy. I love his sparring partner, Zachary Franklin, who's a Raider now. We got him as a UDFA. But Denver went out there and got Jahdae Barron. I know some people thought, and I know Ben was a little kind of like, what are we doing right now? I thought that was a phenomenal pick. It's going to be very, very difficult to throw on that defense. With him, Pat, Surtain, I mean, this is going to be a nasty, nasty defense. Darcy, I'm going to go against what you just said, little bro. RJ Harvey is one of the better running backs in this class. I know he went to Central Florida, I believe.
Yeah,
smaller school, but he is a stud. This kid is going to ball out for Denver. The thing is, they got to give him reps. All that, not allowing any of those guys to get going, they're going to have to give him the ball a ton to get him moving and shaking. Like I said, Pat Bryant, Savion Jones. This was a sneaky pickup out of LSU as well. You guys are adding to that defensive line. You go get an outside linebacker in Q Robinson out of Alabama. You get a punter there in Jeremy Crawshaw, which was funny, but hey, every team needs a punter, right? And tight end Caleb Lohner. Is it Lohner, I believe?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought this was a sneaky draft class. I love the Jahdae Barron, love RJ Harvey. I thought Pat Bryant is a great pickup for you, but I thought it was a little too early. I think you could have went another direction, but Q, Savion, there's some great picks here. How do you feel about this, Jay? I'm gonna give them, honestly, this is a B+ for me with the Denver Broncos. I just thought because there was a reach or two. I don't think Jahdae Barron was a reach at all, you guys. I mean, this dude's going to be a star at the NFL level, and I hate to say it because that was a kid that a lot of us in Raider Nation, if we decided to move back a few spots, we were all in on Jahdae Barron. This is a stud. RJ Harvey's going to be a baller. What do you think about this, Jay? How do you grade them, and how do you look at that whole class as a whole?
Well, to really make Ben look at me sideways, I would grade it the same way that I would that they have on their logo. I would give it a D. But I'm not going to be that disrespectful because at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, we know.
Anytime you leave with a punter, Jake, I can't give you an A.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't do it.
Yeah. But no, I think B+ really is reasonable for me because of the fact of you doubled, if not tripled down on defense. I mean, on top of like the free agency with getting Drake Greenlaw and Talino Ufunga, you now add Jahdae Barron to this with Pat Surtain and with Riley Moss and another young corner that you have. So you triple down on it. And I think that's exactly what Sean Payton wanted to do and what he possessed in his time in New Orleans. He wanted a tougher defense. Same thing that Denver's going to get. To me, I kind of feel a little bit like sideways about the Pat Bryant, only because is he really going to be that impactful in that spot where they're going to put packages up there for him? That he can be impactful for Bo Nix in that offense, it's still questionable to me. But, I mean, RJ Harvey, I've been saying this to a lot of Bronco fans, and I'll say it to you too, is that is Sean Payton's Joker. That is his Joker there. Because ultimately, you're going to start this thing off the same way that we tried to with our running game with power and with speed. So you're power back with Audric Estime, and then you got that Joker right there with RJ Harvey. I mean, that's going to feed families. But the thing is like, I mean, double downing on edge rushers with both Savion Jones and with Q Robinson. I mean, they to match up with Nick Benito and the rest of them. I mean, your whole entire defensive front, you're not just working on that thing for just a year. You're working on that thing for the next 5 years. So that's going to be a scary, like, it gives me Orange Crush vibes.
I like you guys. This is why we're friends, guys. Yeah, this is good.
And like I said, I was going to be very ready for to tear down your donkeys, okay? But at least I had to be reasonable for that because it's all for viewers' sake.
Darcy, man, get to the Ben energy, man. We need that. How do you feel about this Denver Broncos draft class?
It's a C.
Talk that shit, bro. Let's go.
I think your best pick was Barron. I think Barron was your best pick. I think if to pair him with Surtain, like that's a fantastic pick. I don't want to say you guys reached in the first round because but there were other guys, especially when you guys thought you needed a running back in the first round. I saw your stream. You wanted a running back.
I wanted, yeah.
Jade should have been gone though at 11, 12, 13 range.
Yeah, he was a top 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the corner, I don't have a problem with that. I know Graf's higher on RJ Harvey than I am. I honestly think that if you just pair him, and I just don't trust your running game. Like I don't trust your scheme to run the ball because I don't think that anyone has run the ball well in your system. And he's kind of undersized, if I remember correctly. So I'm not like, I mean, I know he's like got a burst of energy, but I'm not like super like floored with that pick. And, down to Pat Bryant. Like, is that a guy that really jumps off the screen to you as someone who could be an impact player? You got him in the round 3. He was a 4th or 5th round pick, according to most mocks. So it's like you reached at that pick. You got other guys, but you want to talk about like cookie cutter drafts, like Q Robinson. Like that's the people who did very little research into the draft that just kind of took the best player available in the 4th round. Like I'm not sure if any of these guys like really impress me. And the punter, like, have fun. Yeah. A 7th round tight end, he's probably not going to be very good.
Yeah, he probably won't make that.
Especially with Evan Ingram in the room.
God, the GOAT.
I forgot about him.
Yeah, the GOAT. I mean, so we got a C there for the Denver Broncos.
Can I teach you guys like everything you're missing? Because like, I don't know. I just play checkers. You guys are playing chess, or I think I switched that around. Okay. Y'all are way wrong because it was an absolute A+, right? So you guys also last year at this exact time told me that Sean Payton reached on Bo Nix, right? And he would have been there in later rounds. And he goes on and throws the 2nd most touchdowns ever for a rookie quarterback. And if it wasn't for Jaden Daniels' year, he would have been the best rookie quarterback in the whole class. And Sean Payton felt that exact way about every single dude he picked. And I completely agree. Pat Bryant, when I looked at average draft placement, he was way later, but Sean Payton came out immediately after and said he is Michael Thomas. One of the reasons he dropped on most draft boards was his 40 time wasn't good. Pull up the Illinois film. None of you could tell me who the Illinois quarterback is. I still don't know, and I've watched a lot of his tape. The fact is, like, he set records at Illinois playing in the Big Ten, and he's an animal. Like he truly is. And Sean Payton came out and gushed about him immediately, saying he's going to be the steal of this draft. He can play every position. One of the weird things last year with this guy, you remember Lil Jordan Humphrey we had? Mm-hmm. So he played on 50% of snaps because he was like a blocking wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And he's gone and he's a New York Giant now. And Sean Payton's like, see you later, because Pat Bryant's quote is, if you block, you get the rock. And his philosophy is like, I'm going to be a blocking wide receiver, and he can play the slot. He can play outside. He can play everywhere. You thought the Broncos reached last year on Devon Vele, and he had incredible numbers for a rookie wide receiver. So Sean feels good about it. And Darcy, to your point about RJ Harvey's undersized, he's an inch shorter than Ashton Genty. So he's not undersized. Sean Payton's compared him to Darren Sproles, and his athleticism and like
undersized.
Well, he's also like a all-pro running back, and
but that's the thing. They compare all small running backs to Darren Sproles when he's the exception. He's
but
the outlier.
He's a Sean Payton running back
for a reason. And also, really quickly, you never say bad things that Sean Payton says, because he's not going to say bad things. He just blows smoke up all of your asses. Like, he's not going to come out and say, like,
when was
for him to be like, do you want him to come out and say, yeah, our 7th round pick, man, we just threw a dart at the board and hopefully it hits? Like, no.
But when have I ever quoted? Remember, like last year when I was like, Sean Payton's the winningest coach in October, and you're like, no, he won't be this year, and he was. And I was like, hey, Sean Payton said we're gonna make the playoffs. You're like, you'll be lucky to win 4 games. Everything Sean said has come true, and that's why I'm like chugging the Kool-Aid, because
maybe he just says everything. Like maybe
he
just says, like,
doesn't though, bro. He really doesn't. And the punter pick I thought was wild as well. I was like, we just got a punter, but the fact of the matter is he's like an Australian dude. So he's like, that's not a knife. This is a knife. And if you look at his average at Florida, he would have been the fifth best punter.
Use a knife.
Exactly. He would have been the 5th best punter in the NFL this year. And that's, like the college field is much shorter because they don't go 3 and out as much, and the ball's moved around. So he's at altitude. He's going to just rocket it. And then our 7th round tight end is the one I thought you guys were going to roast me for.
Such a loner.
He played 20. He had 20 targets all year. And he played Division I basketball for 3 years and ended up transferring and just played 1 year of football at Utah. And Sean Payton's like, yeah, that kind of reminds me of guys like Jimmy Graham and Antonio
That's
Gates.
Just ridiculous.
And
that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
We're fixing to find out, bro. Like we don't
even need to wait. Ben, we don't even need to wait. He's not going to be good because he's with you guys. You guys, he's not going to be good because he's with you guys.
Darcy, you beat us by a blocked field goal and you got destroyed by us. I don't know how you're talking in this kind of like condescending voice.
And listen, you
got a lot.
You got a lot. You have if you're going to hype up and drink that Kool-Aid so much, you're going to have a lot to prove to us that that is going to be facts at the end of the day. Because my only fact is that Bo Nix is still the baby duck next to Justin Herbert. So you better be prepared for that.
Get ready to learn sophomore slump, buddy.
Guys, you said get ready to learn rookie bust, bro. I can go on what he's done, and he played a better playoff game. He played a better playoff game than Justin Herbert, who ended his season with 4 interceptions against the Texans, bro.
Listen,
and
at the end of the day, we're all losers. None of us won the Super Bowl.
Well, speaking of the Super Bowl, we can go ahead and get here. Salute to Tyler.
We don't have to do this.
On a $5 holler as well. Appreciate you. Salute to 2-4. Darce, what was the score? We can go right here, right now. Now,
genuinely, gun to my head, couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. I don't even know where I was during that game anymore. I just associated.
Yo, you know what's funny, man?
Is the Super Bowl still like a couple weeks away? Like when is that going to happen?
It was 40-22, and at halftime, the Eagles had more points than you had yards, and Patrick Mahomes was 6 hit.
I don't even remember this happening.
Sacked 6 times.
All I know, it didn't happen
on 0 blitzes, and it was just your offensive line, which was ableismal.
The last thing I remember is Mahomes
every Eagles
in the end zone when they beat the Niners. Like everything else is a blur.
I thought the Chiefs, man, they had a phenomenal draft. And I hate to say it. I was a little skeptic. I was like, why are they moving back? They're allowing Philly to jump them and to go get my guy out of Alabama. They jumped 1 spot, I believe, right? Didn't you guys just swap picks?
Yeah, that was it. I thought that was
traded
sick.
Back
yes.
1 pick.
Yes,
to get
for a 5th round draft pick. That was a steal, bro. Yeah, I didn't like that.
I think you guys already knew that they were going in a different direction.
Yeah.
It made sense to pick up a free draft pick. But in my eyes, I think that you guys got, and this may be a hot take, I think if he's healthy, you might have got the best tackle in this draft class. Josh Simmons out of Iowa State there at 32. A guy at 63 and Omar Norman Lott that a lot of people may not know. This guy can get to the quarterback. He still got to get his stuff together against the run, but he is a guy that can get to the quarterback a lot. So that's a nice move right there. Chris Jones is 31 years old now. He's getting up there in age. So a nice little move right there to add another defensive tackle. You got Ashton. Is it July, I believe? The defensive end out of Louisville?
Gelati.
Yeah, a Gelati. Okay, another sneaky move right there at 66. 2 third-round picks. This is one of the moves I liked a lot was Noah Williams, the corner out of Cal. I got a chance to watch him at the Shrine. He is a stud. This kid can be definitely a starter from you potentially in year 1, but if not, he could be a guy that's going to play a ton of football for you guys later on down the line. Round 4, I don't know how this happened. Jalen Royals falls out of Utah State to 133. Such a Chiefs move. They go get
Bryant, though.
He's no Pat Bryant, of course, but this was one of the more sneakier moves right there. Round 4 at 133. Round 5, pick 156. You got another guy that I liked a ton out of Oregon, the linebacker Jeffrey Bassa. This is a guy that I wanted the Raiders to take a look at a lot during these mock drafts and stuff like that. And then round 7 is another sleeper, Brashard Smith, running back out of SMU. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with him. I live in the Dallas area.
Yeah.
I am very familiar with Brashard. This dude can give some real reps.
That's the wide receiver converted to running back, right?
Yes,
dude. Yeah. I was thinking like if we picked up a late running back, that's who I wanted. So I thought that was a steal, bro.
He is a stud. Yeah. The Chiefs definitely had a really good class. I got to give this an A. I have to, man. the move back kind of confused me a little bit. Then I watched Philly, Howie Roseman doing Howie Roseman things, going to get one of the best linebackers in football out of Alabama there. But you guys knew what you were doing. You knew you were going tackle there. You took Josh Simmons. I'm going to give you guys an A. I'm going to hand this to Darcy first. How do you feel about your draft class, brother?
I would give it an A-. I think the only pick where I was like a little interesting was Jeffrey Bossa, just because like you didn't really need a linebacker. But here, it was a 5th-round draft pick, one that you didn't have. The Eagles gave you Jeffrey Bossa. And so it's like kind of hard to be upset about that one. I think the best pick in the draft was Jalen Royals. I think he is someone that like pretty much right away is going to help this offense. And he, I think, led FBS with like 10 plus catches of 50 yards through the last 2 years. Yeah. So like this is something that is just going to add to our offense, make us more explosive downfield. And you mentioned it with Simmons. If he's healthy, he's the best tackle in the draft.
Yes, I agree.
That's a big if. Because he had that patellar tendon injury. And I think I saw something like 45% of the players that deal with that injury never play football again. So it's like, it's a pretty big risk. But there's a reason.
They did their homework. If they took him in the first round, they did their homework.
There's a reason why he was there. But at the same time, there's also a reason why, 31 other teams that some of them really needed tackles didn't take him. So I did like that pick. I was a little bit nervous just because that knee injury does scare me, but I trust Brett Veach and Rick Burkholter, our athletic trainer, that they're able to fix that and get it under control. A pick that I really like that not a lot of people were super high on, at least in the Chiefs kingdom, was Omar Norman Lott. Like this is a guy, I think he led all of college football in pressure rating, and you're pairing him with Chris Jones. And when you do that, like he doesn't have to stop the run because you've got Mike Pennell. You actually brought in Jerry Tiller. Like you've got guys that can stop.
Hold on. Don't mention that, Nick.
Jerry Tiller is like our 4th string defensive tackle. And if he's your
where he needs to be.
Yeah. Okay. Listen.
Let's not act like he's Evan Ingram here, little bro.
I would be appalled.
But I feel like the reason that you have to give the Chiefs a good grade, the positional value is just unbelievable. And Rashard Smith in the 7th round?
Yeah, that's crazy, kidding me?
Dude. Like, this is a guy that is already turning heads in mini camp. And once we get to July into training camp, you guys are probably going to see 10, 15 videos just on him. Like, he is going to be a player in this offense that absolutely feasts. I've seen the Jerick McKinnon comps, which kind of make a lot of sense. Someone that can catch the ball to the backfield,
definitely.
Shift. You saw that spin move that he pulled off. I can't remember who he was playing.
I watched him a ton. I know exactly.
I did a couple videos on why the Broncos should draft him. So I was mad. That was the one I was super mad to see you guys get for sure.
He's nice, but I'd give the Chiefs an A. I think they had a really good class and probably the best class they've had since 2022 when they got Trent McDuffie and Karlaftis.
Okay. Ben, how are we feeling about the Chiefs in their draft class, brother?
I would love to just roast him. So I have to give it an A too, which it sucks because like you shouldn't be the 31st worst position and still end up like the upside is so much better than the downside with what you got there. And I agree with Graf. They had to have looked into the injury concerns. And it makes your signing of Jalen Moore serviceable because I thought that was one of the worst moves in the whole offseason to like give the bag to a guy who isn't good, but now you could have your future tackle there,
Yeah, I agree. And they probably left with potentially 3 or 4 starters in the next year or so. So they did this thing the right way. Jake, how are you feeling about the Chiefs in their draft class, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I give this a graded B+, and the only reason for that is because similar way with what the Broncos, what the Chargers are doing is that it was all roster construction at the end of the day. I was just very surprised that, and I have to see how the Washington Commanders literally look with Josh Connerly, because the fact that you let Josh Simmons pass and you went with Josh Connerly, I have to see what the difference with 2 of them are going to play like with just their scheme and style fit. Because if like we said, Josh Simmons only allowed 1 sack in the amount of snaps that he's had up at Ohio State. It's insanity to me. And the fact that he
also traded for Tunsil.
Yeah, and so the fact that you literally like let that fall to the one team that you're trying to beat is the Kansas City Chiefs, like it's insanity to me. But no, I think like with Norman Lott in the defensive tackle, because we know Chris Jones is getting up in age, but I mean, we talked about it with a lot of these defensive tackles that were in this draft. Either one of these that was going to be paired up with Chris Jones was going to be scary as hell anyway, because of just with the experience, and then what he's going to show potential with these kids is going to show why they want to be consistent up on defense. I'm really not worried about your defense, because the defense at the end of the day from the front seven is going to remain similar. Get after it. Trench warfare.
They lost pressure. But they came into the offseason having lost like their highest graded player in the Super Bowl on defense, and then Tershawn Wharton gone too. So, and then you're looking at a 35-year-old Mike Pennell. Chris Jones is getting older. And what are you doing about Tooney being gone? Like, what is the plan at guard there, dude?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to get to, is because the fact that there's only one offensive lineman you drafted in this draft class, because that's the one that I'm going to be concerned with, just the entire construction of your offensive line after losing Tooney and after losing a couple pieces. We know you still have Trey Smith. We know you still got Creed Humphrey, and you got Josh Simmons. But again, there may be some holes there that will eventually need to be addressed. We'll see, because if there's one nick in that armor there that gets pierced, sorry, man, but that's going to make a difference.
Well, let's get to the team that
what we all came here for. Let's hear about the Raiders.
Address every positional need. Left with, I think, a generational talent in round 1 at pick 6. Went and got a starting wide receiver, a guy that I love, and I had the Raiders taking him out of TCU. We addressed everything. We got a guard, we got a tackle, we got a corner. We got 3 wide receivers. We have a guy that we're converting from quarterback to wide receiver that looks very Julian Edelman-esque. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a shocker to me with Tom Brady here in the building. My Raiders. I think we had one of the better draft classes this year. I'm not saying it just because I'm a Raider fan. I'm telling you, guys know me. I'm very honest and realistic about my team. I loved what they did in this draft class, man. Going out and getting his Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode 2.0, and Ashton Jeanty. The way they played the media, it's going to be a tackle now. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. No, Jeanty was the guy from day one. They put a lot of Colton Miller is holding out. Next thing you know, he's right back in camp. It's just, we did a lot. We played a lot of mental games during this draft class. Ashton Jeanty, pick number 1. Jack Besh, after we traded back twice to pick up some more draft capital, which I thought was very, very smart, because they wanted Besh the entire time. I thought that they were going to take him in a 3rd, so it made sense to move back a few times and get him there before, he got off the board. You took a guy in Darian Porter that is a converted wide receiver, hasn't played a ton at the cornerback position, but is 6'4", that big body Pete Carroll-esque Legion of Boom.
Dude, that's exactly what I was just going to say, man.
Richard Sherman, he played wide receiver, converted to corner at Stanford, and Pete Carroll worked wonders with him. I mean, you go get 2 offensive linemen in round 3. There's a lot of questions about our offensive line. We added Alex Kappa in free agency, the worst guard in football, but once again, ties to Tom Brady and Spy Tick out there in Tampa Bay. We go get Caleb Rogers, the tackle who's going to be a guard for us from Texas Tech. You go get Charles Grant, one of the sneakiest tackles out of a small school, William and Mary, that a lot of people had him going before the 3rd round. Round 4, you get a speedster, a 6'5", big body, Dante Thornton Jr., former Oregon product that transferred out to Tennessee, led the college football in yards per catch. I mean, the dude was a stud. Just didn't get a ton of opportunities because of the way the offense ran in Tennessee. You go get 2 defensive tackles back-to-back, round 4 and round 6. You get Tonka Hemingway, South Carolina, was one of the sneakiest DTs who can play on the edge as well out of South Carolina. You go get JJ. I always butcher his name. Is it Pages? I always butcher his name, but this is a kid that played for Ole Miss, defensive tackle, that can also play some fullback for you. He scored a ton of touchdowns at the collegiate level. This dude is a versatile stud. I'm excited to see what he can do. You go round 6 and get Tommy Mellott, touchdown Tommy, the quarterback out of Montana State. He's done nothing but win. One of the fastest guys in the draft, just like Dante Thornton was, and Darian Porter. We got a ton of speed in this draft class, and he will be a wide receiver at the next level. Julian Edelman 2.0. Round 6, this was my least favorite pickup. I wasn't big on Cam Miller. I got a chance to watch him at the Shrine Bowl. He was my least favorite quarterback there to cover. But Kyle McCord was number 1. There wasn't a ton of great talent there, so I can't beat up Cam. But he did nothing but win at North Dakota State, round 6. Where did Tom Brady? Where was he drafted? In round 6. So they held out. We didn't get Shador. He went all the way to the 5th. So we passed on him a ton. So let me know. Yeah, we'll talk about that shortly.
You were right, by the way, on that. Like you called it. I don't think that's true, but you said he's not going in the first round, and I was so wrong on that.
Cam Miller, 6th round. Then you go get a linebacker, which a lot of us thought that we might go a little earlier, but we did bring in a Landon Roberts, and we brought in Devin White in free agency. But, we have a few of our young guys we're still trying to develop, but we went and got Cody Lindenberg out of Minnesota, which I thought was a sneaky move there. I got to give this an A as well, you guys. I thought we had a phenomenal draft class. Once again, I'm not saying this just because I'm a Raider fan. I truly believe it. Jake, how do you feel about the Raiders and the way we went about our draft class, bro?
The same stance. I haven't been moved by all of the rest of these draft classes, but I'm giving the Raiders a B+ as well, because the fact of the matter is, I mean, you called 2 of the 3 picks when we ended up doing, the draft predictions. The fact of getting Ashton Jeanty, I mean, it just fits Pete Carroll's style, because similarly, just like Jim Harbaugh, I mean, I told you this, like, you guys are literally taking the similar blueprint that we did from last year, because the fact of run the football, you get a protective offensive line, and at the same time, you stop the run up in front, because getting that hard trench warfare physical game is exactly what Pete Carroll does. So getting your future in Ashton Jeanty, like, it just screams like Pete Carroll pick.
Chip Kelly's going to love him. Chip Kelly is going to love him.
He's going to love running the football with him, because at the end of the day, it's going to help with elusiveness and at the same time creating those holes and spaces for him to run through. Like, he could go middle, he could go outside, and he could do a lot of that. The only thing that I hope he has learned from going into the NFL and what he did in this last game against Penn State is that he prepares for that physical game, because it will come. Hopefully he does, and because, again, you got to protect the football at all costs.
Yes. Yeah. You added some linemen, right? You went and got Jack Besh, who is one of the better blocking wide receivers. Yes. And Jacoby Myers is a great blocking wide receiver as well. There's a trend here, Jake. We got real physical, and we got real speedy with Dante Thornton, Tommy touchdowns, and then once again we still have Trey Tucker on this roster as well. So very physical, a ton of athleticism on this team. So you said B+.
Yeah, B+. And like I said, I think JJ Pegues, like I think with him and Christian Wilkins coming back from injury, you pair that up front. I mean, that's going to be really, really good. So I honestly do think the same thing about Cody Lindenberg. I think that guy's going to be that physical linebacker, because think about it. You let Robert Spillane go, and even with Divine Diablo, like, he's going to be that physical caliber that I know that Pete Carroll is going to love so much. So that's why I'm like B+. All of us, man, let's be honest. We all are playing competitively. This is why the league right now is putting everybody on notice talking about our division.
Yep.
Seriously.
Darcy, how you feel about the Raiders, man?
Listen, I feel like this draft class was kind of a lot like last year, in a sense where, like, you guys got like a generational talent in the first round. You got Brock Bowers last year. You got Jeanty this year, which, by the way, seeing him in a Raiders jersey like that black makes me sick.
Oh, me too, dude.
Dude, just doesn't look good on him. But
it's so jacked.
If I just kind of go through the draft, I'm really hesitant to be like, oh, those tackles that you picked, those linemen that you picked in the 3rd round, that those guys are going to be good. Listen, maybe I'm scarred from my own experiences of drafting, guys in the 3rd and 4th and 5th round, even the 2nd round. It is hard to find good linemen in the middle rounds. And so I'm not like really wowed by those picks. And I think that this draft especially was not a good draft, in the later rounds for linemen. I mean, maybe defensive linemen, but even then, like, Brett Veach, our GM, said that it's good for edge rushers, but the defensive tackles kind of flame out, after round 2. Just like that's where most of the value was. So I think that, those guys I'm not super thrilled with.
Developmental guys, Darce. I mean, one guy's going to potentially take Colton's spot when he ends up leaving at some point if he retires or if he moves on, we don't re-sign him. And then, Caleb Rogers is converting from tackle to guard, so he'll add some value. versatility. This is a guy that I thought was a little bit of a reach. I in some mocks I had us taking him later, but I wasn't upset that they said, you know what, there's a couple runs already. Let's get our guys now before it's too late.
I'll tell you what, I like the Porter pick a lot. I like the Porter pick, and I like obviously Genty, but it'll be interesting to see like how these guys develop, because also one thing I think you should consider, and I guess if you're convinced that Spy Tech was behind this draft, that's one thing. Pete Carroll towards the end in Seattle didn't really have a lot of great drafts. So that is also something to think about. Okay.
Well, he left with the thing with him is he knew certain positions. He would draft well when it came to corners. Well, I don't want to get corners. I mean, DBs for sure. He's a former DB himself. I thought that he hit it out the ballpark with Kenneth Walker. It really hasn't worked out like that. But anybody that watched him at Michigan State, he was a stud at the collegiate level, and he just has not been able to stay healthy like that. When healthy, Kenneth Walker's a dog. But, I mean, Tariq Woolen was a steal, but he's a corner, right? But I hear you, Darce. I hear you. But I think Spy Tech had his fingerprints all over this draft class.
I'll tell you what, that like even with some of those positions, and even I'll say this about Jack Besh, is I think when Pete Carroll had DK Metcalf, what it is, the physical build, the athletics, the athleticism, the speed, and all of the rest of it. But the difference of it is you got one who's a head case and the other one who's coachable. And I think with Jack Besh, this is what Carroll wanted to have. He had that with DK Metcalf, but the problem is you couldn't even control like the character in him to stay level-headed up on the field. And now that you have that and pair it up with Brock Bowers.
Well, the thing is this too, you went and got Besh, who plays on the boundary and he plays a ton in the slot, but also you went and got Dante Thornton, who ran the same 40 essentially as DK Metcalf, in the same body type. So Pete and company said, you know what, we're going to take a guy that has a lot of comparisons to DK Metcalf, not the kind of production, because once again, that Tennessee offense is really weird, man. He didn't get a ton of reps out there, but I thought this was a really I just thought across the board it was a responsible draft. Yeah. I just thought that they did everything right. To be determined. We had to see the results, but I just think that they did everything right. What kind of grade do you give us, Dars?
I'd give it a B plus maybe. I like Porter a lot. I think Genty's going to be so good too. It's like, who cares if the tackles in the mid rounds don't hit? Yep. Yeah. Like, I think Genty's going to be that guy that you're like, wow. Like, I think he's generational. So it's like,
yeah.
Can I address that comment really quickly? Because this is something that I go through with my own fan base. Every single summer, we hear about this UDFA that's great, who's the steal of the undrafted.
Mello Dotson.
Yeah, Mello Dotson. But here's the thing. One of those guys, maybe two tops, will make your roster, and guess what? He'll never play. Like, I've been through this so many times. I'm sure you have too, Graf. This guy's going to light it up. This guy's going to be the next star. He doesn't see the field. He's a body. He's just someone that he doesn't practice. Like, I don't want to hear anything about your UDFA class, because guess what? If they were that good, they would have been drafted.
Bro, there's so many examples in NFL history that show how, like...
Yeah, but listen...
Dude, you're talking Chris Harris Jr., C.J. Anderson.
Robert Spillane was a UDFA.
We had like 6 undrafted free agents who've helped us win Super Bowls. So like I think there's a lot of
the Chiefs. Ben, you're not going to win with this conversation, man. They're not a Patrick Mahomes. They're not a Kelsey.
I just don't get overly excited about UDFAs when there's a reason why they are undrafted free agents. Like,
that's why I only nitpick one. That's why I only nitpick one, because honestly, I've been hearing it now for weeks that like everybody's trying to troll on me with the fact of, bro, I'm telling you, DJ Ukulele is going to be that guy. No, he's not.
Hey, Jay, can we all agree real quick though that we were all waiting on the Chiefs to take Isaiah Bond?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I love Mello Dotson. God love him. God help him. I don't think he's going to be very good. Love him. Don't think he's going to be very good. And I'm not just saying that because he's a racist.
And you know what, though, Darcy, when we talked about UDFAs, that was very clever when you talked to me about that kid from Kansas. Like, you literally texted me, you're like, you got a serious dog up at that kid.
I was like, yeah, Luke Grimm's awesome. He's never going to sniff the field.
Hey, Ben, all that Mello Dotson love in the group chat is different when you get on screen with him, huh?
Oh, very different. Very different.
I love him. He'll always be a Kansas kid, but, man, Now, Kobe Bryant is a different story.
Atlanta got a stud. Atlanta got
got several studs.
Salute to my guy Ty on a $2 special. Real quick, let me read this super before we get to our brother Ben. I can promise you one thing. There's 3 dudes on this screen who don't want to see a Chip Kelly let off with Genty cramming it down their throats. I can't effing wait. Pause. Salute to Hug on the 10. Could you imagine? I mean, like, think about it. We have an offense with Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. Like, that's going to be a fun offense.
5
100%.
loading.
5
wins loading.
But I gotta ask you though, Draft. Don't it feel good that you finally have grown-ups that can honestly adjust?
Yes,
bro, and that's how I need to hop in on this grade because when I think about it, I miss the days of Henry Ruggs and Darren McFadden and Jamarcus Russell and Clennon Farrell and Jerrion Clowney and Carl Joseph and DJ Hayden. Like Al Davis had this ability of like, hey, who's the fastest guy in his underwear? And I'm going to get him to the Raiders. And that's what I was expecting in this draft. And it sucks that it didn't happen because
they did do that, but they were responsible picks.
They were very responsible.
Dante Thornton, fast guys, but it made sense.
Yes. And I think my one thing would be like, I agree. Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers are generational. But it's like you're going to a steakhouse and it's like the best steak you've ever seen. And you're like bragging about looking down at your plate and having the best cupcake and the best side of fries. Like the NFL, you win on the quarterback position and you win in the trenches. And so I just think that in the deepest running back class in NFL history, with the fact that you guys didn't make the playoffs, would you have been better to get the best player at a position of need and then pick up?
We had the worst ground game in football last year.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point.
We needed to make a statement. Like you know, there's no, and then you go get a 33-year-old Raheem Mostert in free agency who's coming off of a nasty injury. Like you had to go get the proven thing.
Yeah.
Like, I love RJ Harvey. I love Omarion Hampton, but getting Genty to me is like, you know what you have. Like you just know. As long as you block up front for him, like, look, he's going to find a way to score a ton and put up a ton of yards. And I think the one thing that Chip Kelly's going to do is get him once again, like in the passing game involved heavily as well. You know, Ben, a year prior, he had like 600 yards in the passing game. Yep. They kind of got away from that last year and just had him be that workhorse running back. They kind of got
loaded boxes. And then I was trying to like convince myself like, oh, that's fine. We didn't get him. He's not coachable. Because in a Kay Adams interview before the thing, he was like, I'm still going to stand in my Halloween stand in the back. And he was acting like I don't need to do the combine. And like he'd already made it, right? He already thought of himself as Saquon Barkley. And that's not true though. Like he came out already and told like at the premiere and said, yeah, I'm coachable and I'll change my stance. And hopefully
he said, I have to earn it.
Yes, dude. And yeah, you can't even dog on him for that. Cause I thought he was a diva going into it and it's not looking like he is.
Players just say stuff on Kay Adams show.
They
just want to talk.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
Do you think she'd ever come on this show, or I don't know?
Like, she retweeted me yesterday.
What? No,
the Ashton Genty stuff. So yeah,
is Joy Taylor still dealing with the allegations? Maybe we get her on the show.
Wow.
Yo, I mean, honestly,
you got the fabulous force. So let's go.
There you go. Yeah. I know you love Ashton Genty.
Yes.
Honestly, you got to be real. What do you look at this draft as a whole? Because I think that we honestly addressed every single need that we had on this roster.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about after going into free agency, regardless of how you feel about Geno Smith, we got our quarterback one. It doesn't matter. He is the guy, at least for now. I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback in football, but we got a serviceable at the bare minimum in Geno Smith, the guy that played really well under Pete Carroll those first few years out in Seattle when he came over there. So I mean, what kind of grade do you look at in terms of this whole draft class?
Pass, because I can't not say it was good, dude. Like that sucks. It was good. It really was good. It's not the smartest thing because Sean Payton didn't draft a running back in the first round, but bro, you got the best. It's got to be an A. And that sucks.
There we go. We got to do these rankings because I think right now.
Can we talk about Shedeur and what's the deal? Why did you pass on him though?
Well, let me say this. I thought that, and I don't want to get the fan because our fan base is already over talking about this shit. Okay. But we haven't had a chance.
Yeah, I want to hear.
We'll spend a few minutes on it. I want to say this. I think that Brady kind of copped out on that. Like he said that He had nothing to do with the quarterback process. And then Spy Tech came out and said that he had everything to do with going to get Cam Miller out of North Dakota State in the 6th round. So I felt like Brady was trying to stay away from the noise. I think that Pete Carroll potentially said, Geno is my guy. I don't want I don't want there to be all this noise that affects him as the quarterback one. And I think that he trusts Geno. And I don't think that he wanted that distraction. And I love Shedeur. I don't look at it like this. I think he's been humbled in Cleveland, but you even see all the media out there right now, right? We're in year 1 of trying to get this thing rolling under Pete Carroll. We're coming off of a 4-13 season where it was bad, and we just traded a 3rd-round pick for Geno Smith. So honestly, I think it was responsible to not go out there and get him early. He fell, and I'm not going to be I think he's very much more talented than a 5th-round quarterback, okay? I was one of those guys that said he's a 1st-round guy. I think he was the best quarterback in this class. That's just me. That's just me. Too, dude. But once again, I think that some people look at it like high risk or high risk and then potentially low reward because all the stuff that comes along with them. I kind of had this feeling, though, Ben, that once he got away from his father, his brother goes to another team and they're kind of like spread out, that he was going to be a little more humbled. He's on his own now. He's a man now. Deion's not there with him to hold his hand. Shiloh's not there. His camera crew's not there every step of the way.
Literally fired his dad as an agent and went and got a different one.
Yeah.
And now he's thriving up in Tampa right
and now there's conflicting reports, Jake, in Cleveland about he had a great, rookie mini camp, which they just had shorts on. There was no pads. I'm not going to get too hyped about 7-on-7s, right? But there was a report that came out today now that Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett are battling it out for the number 1 spot. Not Flacco, not Shedeur. So I don't know what's true. I know they signed him to a 4-year deal, $4 million deal. Great, man. Look, the kid is going to make a ton of money in football, even if he doesn't play. He has it made regardless.
I just never get excited about dudes in shorts.
I just think the realism about like with the whole Shedeur Sanders thing, because you popped in on my regular show. I've talked about this, a couple episodes ago, but the thing was when breaking down, because all I tried to do was clear all of the smoke out of the air when it came to this quote unquote hidden agenda about Shedeur Sanders. I said, you're not talking football after that. You're talking about him as the person. You're not focusing on him as the football player, because him as the football player, his talent upside is there, but the fact that he is a steal as a 5th round, like you all can literally not, like you cannot deny that a 5th rounder with that much high upside talent is not a steal to me. You cannot lie to me about that, because honestly, anybody that gets that for the amount of smoke and mirrors that's thrown, and then he comes out and all of a sudden he's the franchise quarterback of the
but once again, Jake, I think that every coach is going to be worrying about their job because of Deion.
Well, they will. But to your guys' point with the Raiders, let's be honest. You needed to build maturity, chemistry, and consistency in this organization. Because if you immediately drafted Shedeur Sanders, you know what you were going to be? You were going to be in purgatory even longer, because the kid is not fully matured in that aspect. And trust me, I know my hometown. It's called Sin City for a reason. If none of these kids get matured up in that location, it's going to be hell. But that's why having Pete Carroll. That's why
that's what he did, Jake. He went and got high character guys.
Yes,
Jack Best, his story.
Dude, that Jack Best story is amazing,
you get Geno Smith, who you extended a contract for because you trust him that much that even with the play action pass, he is going to help to build and develop that offense for the future. It's not just particularly up in 1 year. The year is the start, but it's all about stretching that to where it's a 3-year path. Because now you built this offense. Now you could pass that over to the next one that's going to keep this thing consistent, man. Because I have seen y'all in 20 plus years. You have been in purgatory for far too long with this whole thing, hoping it's going to be your year, hoping you're going to turn things around, and it never does. Now it's a better time to shine, to be a fucking Raider.
And Pete Carroll's trying to,
but it is.
He's trying to build this thing for the right now, but he's also trying to make sure that this thing is built. It's a 3-year deal for Pete Carroll. He's already in his 70s, 4th-year team option. I don't know if the next guy is on this roster to be to be the head coach. We shall see. That's to be determined. But look, I like the direction that we went. I feel like we felt in all the blanks. Cam Miller to me is to be like he's a 6th-round quarterback. You guys know how this goes. He usually doesn't pan out. You may never see him. We still have Aiden O'Connell on this roster who started a ton, and regardless of how you feel about him, he's been a starting quarterback several times in his young career and even on his rookie deal. You know what I mean? So I think they trust him. You know, Brady has worked with him off the field as well, on the field, off the field. So maybe they trust him a little bit as well. I am rooting for Shedeur. I don't care if he's a Raider or not. People, why are you talking about? Because I like Shedeur and I like his family. I love the way they went about their business. They all washed each other's back at the Shrine Bowl. They were all together. Like, I love the way that they go to bat for each other. To me, that is just mind-blowing because you don't see that a ton anymore, man. You know what I mean? And to see that family back each other, I'm rooting for all of them. I hope Shiloh makes that roster. I don't think he does, but I hope he does. I hope he makes that roster in Tampa Bay, and I hope that they're all successful in whatever it is they got going on. Salute to the chat. As always, man, we just hit the over the hour mark. If you guys want us to do this weekly, do me a favor. Put some ones in the comments section, if possible. Okay, whether you're watching this, even in the comments section. If you're watching this on Jake's channel, Ben's channel, once they upload it, let us know in the comments section. Put a 1 in the comments section if you want to see this weekly, because a ton of people were hitting me up. We finally got it together. We all know that we've all been busy. We all got personal stuff going on and work and kids and all that other stuff. But if you guys want to see this weekly, please let me know. Put the ones in the comments. I see a ton of ones already. We got to get this thing rolling. I think next week it'd be good to go over the schedule, you guys, and talk about wins and losses for each other's teams. I think that'd be fun.
We do each of us our homework. We could do our win-loss prediction, share it with each other, and then you guys could rip us up.
There we go. And you know what? I need to work on. I don't know why every time I try to put something on screen, my Wi-Fi completely goes.
Did you close Tinder or you still got it running?
It's still up, bro.
Okay. Yeah, close that, and then Grindr can be up at the same time.
You can't find the schedule on the hub, bro. Okay.
Man. Facts. Let me make sure we didn't miss any supers real quick. I don't want to disrespect anybody with the comment.
Dude in shorts.
Make sure you guys wipe them feet, y'all. Hit them thumbs up. And everybody on Darcy's channel, you watching this, make sure you guys get those likes up too, man. Keep our little bro in the algorithm. Make sure, man, that his channel is being seen. Salute to the Mokes. Why go take Sanders when we got AOC and Gino is quarterback too? The Mokes is a huge Aiden kind of guy. So you'll see a ton of AOC MVP incoming. The Mokes, you crazy motherfucker. Salute to 2-4. Is it me or is Darcy not himself after that ass kicking he got in the Super Bowl? Take all that bull junk last season and being confident. 2-4, you love to see it.
Now, humbled worse than Shedeur did.
I basically just right now. I will say I'm not like Raiders fans. I don't peak in the offseason. I don't really get overly excited in the offseason because our Super Bowls happen in February. Yours happen in May. So.
That was just mean. That honestly,
rude, man. Just honestly, how can you say that you actually you like us? Like that's disrespectful.
Listen, if we're gonna shoot, I'm gonna shoot.
If you're shooting at the king, you better not miss, boy.
Yo, real quick before we get out of here, you guys. Jake, man, let everybody know where to follow you at, man. Plug everything you got going on, and go ahead.
Guys. If you love sports and entertainment and you love the mixture of both and love exactly the similar chemistry that we always bring up here and hopefully to bring all week, every single week, check out the Snake Sports Talk Show every weeknight at 5 p.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific, or 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Had to switch those up. But most of all of my Chargers content is up at Chargers Syndicate. Guys, we're already at 706 subscribers.
Y'all just got rolling.
Hard to get to 1,000 subscribers, but we're coming up big. Schedule release. Also more news up out there. Check it out, guys. Like, subscribe, follow, and hit the bell button.
Love it. Ben, man, let everybody know where to follow you at, brother.
Sports Talk Denver on YouTube. Go hit it up. Graph, your team's the only one I haven't just disintegrated this offseason. So Raiders fans would like it. I did a video on how bad the Chiefs and Chargers off seasons were, and people seem to agree.
Content Bronco land. It's hard right now.
Let me go hit love on those videos right after we get done doing this.
Yeah.
Darcy, man, let everybody know where to follow you at, brother.
You guys can follow me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. I think we're supposed to be streaming on my channel, but
we're live right now.
Okay, because on my side it says that it's not, but I don't know what's going on. I think I don't know.
It has the check right. It has the green check right now.
I got a little distress arrow. But
it
anyway,
says it says it looks like your guest stream was deleted on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
well, I'll send it to you to upload it anyway, regardless.
Anyway, you guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. I don't always hate on the Raiders, but when I do, it's great.
Yo, I love it, man. Salute to Hug. Darcy, you don't even make it to the offseason. You peaked when she took her shoes off. Talk!
What does that mean?
I don't know if I know what it means, but it sounds really good. Like,
yo, hey, Hug, I got to say this real quick before we get out of here. Ben asked about you the other day in the group chat. He said, is he really your mod? I said, yes. He said, okay, cool. Like, and then he, because Ben doesn't have any mods over there. So he was wondering.
I need to hug these somehow.
Yeah,
like
he needs to hug
I think I got to hug these in line. So
there you go, man. Love my brothers. Can't wait to get back next week sometime, man. Let's get in the group chat. Let's line it up. Let's get it roll. We got to start pushing these shows back out, man. It's right around the corner. Much love and appreciate every single person.
Got a new number.
Look at that. Real talk, man. I wasn't expecting 1 million people to be here today. I know the Western Conference Finals are on today. Denver's at home. You hate to see it. You know what I mean? Minnesota and OKC, you know what I mean? But, I'm a Kings fan. I don't have nothing to be happy about.
You know what? All 4 of our teams got hope, unlike the Rockies and the Maple Leafs, okay? They got no hope at all.
Talk that talk. Salute to you guys. We will see you guys next week. We appreciate you all. Wow.
Go Chiefs.
Hold up.